Hello, wonderful butterflies of this world. It's your host here, Ash, from Butterfly Shots. Welcome back to Ash Unmasked for another episode. The podcast where we talk about everything and anything from books to life's little drama stories to everything in between. If you've been here a while, you already know this. Ash loves to talk, and it's no secret that we is a massive book lover. In our last episode, we kicked off a 5-part mini-series discussing the book called Accept, Value, and Empower Yourself by David Bonham-Carter. We found this gem during a really tough season. Burnt out, anxiety, imposter syndrome, you name it. After digging through a bunch of self-help books about building self-esteem, we picked this one for its simple, practical tone and how it brings in a CBT-based technique. The book follows a 5-step plan, which actually spells the word value. The first section is value yourself. The second section is accept yourself. The third section is look after yourself. The fourth section is understand yourself. And the fifth section is about empowering yourself. As we said in the past episode, this book is full of exercises and grounded tips. No fluffy woo-woo, real talk. That being said, we did put a disclaimer that some parts of the book, especially the exercises, can be very triggering, especially if you're going through a tough time. So our advice would be to take your time with stuff like this and maybe even get help from a professional if it feels right for you. We love this book enough to dedicate 5 full episodes to unpack each chapter separately. Stick around, we're just getting started. Today is the first episode of the mini-series, and we will dive in chapter 1 of the book, which is called Value Yourself. Grab a cookie and a latte, or our favorite snack and beverage, and let's get into it, shall we? This chapter opens with a quote by Vincent van Gogh that we absolutely love. It says, quote, "If you hear a voice within you saying you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." That hits really hard for us, so we thought we'd underline it. Overall, the author covers subjects like aiming for a reasonable level of self-esteem, the problems that come with low self-esteem, the problems that come with too much self-esteem, the benefits of balanced self-esteem, the subjectivity of self-esteem, where to start to improve your self-esteem. The author underlines the value and characteristics of affirmations and invites us to acknowledge positive actions and our limiting beliefs to then try to change them. Now we will head into more details about some parts of the book that especially touched us. To begin, the book talks about how we should aim for a reasonable level of self-esteem. We should not aim for over self-esteem. That is not desirable. If we go too far into self-esteem, it starts to seem like arrogance, even shows a lack of respect for others. People with inflated self-esteem might even take unnecessary risk or behave in a reckless way because they're disconnected from reality. The author underlines that the goal is rather to have a reasonable self-esteem level, one where we feel good about ourselves without stepping on others. Then the author talks about the benefits of a balanced self-esteem. If low self-esteem is a struggle, a boost of self-esteem could manifest as feeling better about yourself overall, worrying less about whether you're good enough, healthier relationships and not putting yourselves down, more confidence in communicating, assertiveness without anxiety, and better focus. As we mentioned, this book is packed with exercises. The first exercise in this chapter is to write down what we think the benefits of better self-esteem would be in our life. We invite y'all to think about this. Personally, for us, we feel like it could look like feeling better about ourselves, worrying way less about being good enough or what other people think, communicating more clearly, and just being less anxious and more focused. Hey there, butterfly. When was the last time you sent or received a real handwritten postcard? In this fast-scrolling world of DMs, instant messages, and emails, a postcard is a refreshing personal touch that never goes out of style, especially when it holds the emotion of an image. Whether you're traveling, celebrating, or just want to brighten someone's day, a postcard or even a photo magnet can be a tiny treasure with a big impact. Why not bring a little joy to someone? Pick a favorite image, grab a pen, send some love the old school way. This message is brought to you by Butterfly Shots. Let's get back to the episode. Next, the author explains where to start to improve your self-esteem. And that would start apparently by enjoying yourself. We didn't really expect that, but okay, we'll take it. Improving self-esteem starts with making time for the things that you love and giving yourself permission to actually do them without guilt. The author gives different examples of things before inviting you to the second exercise of this chapter, which is to write down 10 activities that you enjoy doing or that you might have enjoyed in the past, and then to commit doing one of them soon. This is fun. We invite you to give this a thought. What are some activities that you enjoy doing or that you might have enjoyed doing in the past? Here's what we wrote. Reading, yoga, walking outside, spinning or biking, dancing, doing art in different mediums, self-development, organizing or attending fundraiser events, doing our nails, learning new stuff on YouTube, listening to music, swinging, yes, the playground kind, spending time with friends. So yeah, so the list is made, but now the idea is to give ourselves permission to make time for that stuff. We're not just supposed to write it down and leave the list there. We're supposed to commit to doing some of those activities. In that train of thought, lately we've really tried to focus less time on work and more time on these activities. We did more reading, more yoga. We spent more time outside. We finally got our bike running so we can do some biking. We started photography again. Slowly, but still, we did. We're doing self-development right now by doing this. We did attend a fundraiser event and even photographed it, which was amazing. We take the time to do our nails every 3 weeks or so. We really got back into learning things on YouTube. Although we do spend an awful lot of time alone, it would be a great idea for us maybe in the near future to spend more time with friends. The next portion of the chapter talks about recognizing your positives. This is where affirmations come in. The author talks about how affirmations can help us to recognize our positives, and we can even write down our own personalized affirmations. In fact, the third exercise is all about making them personal affirmations. It starts by writing a list of our qualities, abilities, and achievements, things that we're proud of. We'd like to invite y'alls to think about this. What are some qualities, abilities, and achievements that you're proud of? Write them down. The author invites us to turn those into personal affirmations in the first person. The result is affirmations that help you value yourself in realistic ways. The author does give tips if you're having a hard time to find affirmations, which we're not going to read right now, but feel free to check out the book if you feel like it. Personally, here are what the affirmations look like. I am a generous and kind person. I detain a bachelor's in business administration. I'm successfully working on my master's degree. I am courageous and strong. I give my best despite health limitations. I'm a creative artist in many mediums. I am competent at what I do, and I am beautiful and intelligent. It's important to remember that we're not writing these for anyone. These are supposed to be our truths. It's important that these affirmations do not talk about what other people think of us. The author recommends to keep this list of affirmation visible and to read them daily. We deserve to be reminded. The author says that this information really helps to balance out the negative thoughts about ourselves that we might be having. To continue on to another portion of this chapter, this next part invites us to create a daily positive diary for a week. If you feel like it, give this a try. It greatly helped us to see how amazing we are. It consists of writing down each day one thing that you achieved, one thing that you enjoyed, and one positive characteristic you showed. It's important to note that the thing you achieved, it's not always something big. It can be something very small. So think about it. Per se, last Sunday, we cleaned all the floors, and that was something we achieved. Also, we enjoyed doing our nails, and a positive characteristic we showed that day was to show ourselves in our home some love. On another day, let's see, last Wednesday, we worked hard on our memoir and worked at our part-time job, and we were focused and motivated and productive. Those are things that we achieved during the day. Then some things we enjoyed doing was to sleep in the morning a little bit, some good coffee, and a session of yoga. That day we showed discipline and self-love. Overall, doing this exercise really helped us to notice our positive characteristic and stuff we enjoyed doing. It also helped us notice the stuff we achieve, which was really great for self-confidence. Finally, the chapter talks about limiting beliefs, those deep down subconscious beliefs that hold us back. The author mentions that limiting beliefs are general beliefs that we hold, and it reduces our ability to see what we achieved or to simply achieve stuff. We don't always notice those limiting beliefs because they're really deep in the subconscious, but they do impact our self-confidence. The author invites us to try to identify the limiting beliefs in ourselves, and it really starts by becoming aware that they even exist. For some people, this is a new concept, and that's okay. The author will have you think about a situation where you felt strongly negative about yourself and use a technique that the author calls the downward arrow technique to try to identify where that negative feeling comes from and what limiting belief is associated with it. We did not use the tool provided by the author, so we won't talk about the tool, but it is out there and exists, and y'all can read the book if you want more information. The author elaborates on how to change those limiting beliefs once you've identified them. The main idea of this exercise is to try to identify the limiting beliefs and to think of an alternate belief. And this was a really hard exercise to do. We had to go really deep to find answers. We'd say it was definitely worth it. We do invite and encourage people to take a deep dive into themselves. Personally, we realized that for a long time we had a weird limiting belief that does affect us in our daily work, in our relationships, in our life in general. And that belief may sound crazy to some people, but it is that somehow we think that we're stupid. This would be a very limiting belief. Because we're stupid, we can't do certain stuff, we can't understand stuff, we don't get stuff. Oh, anyway. We gave this a really deep thought to understand where it came from, and we tried to reframe this limiting belief, and it's been really hard, but it's something that we've put a lot of work into and still do. Here's how we reframe this thought. The alternate belief is that we're not stupid, we just learn differently, and we need to accept that we're not perfect, nobody is, and we all learn at our own pace. As a result, we can give ourselves grace to move forward and keep moving forward, being proud of our achievements, because plenty of successful people have learning challenges and they're far from stupid. Yeah, this was very personal, but we think it's important that people realize that there's a lot going on internally and it's not necessarily reality. Overall, the ideas of the first chapter are really about how valuing yourself is where self-esteem starts. And valuing yourself, it starts by doing things that bring you joy, in taking pride in achievements, qualities, and abilities, in recognizing the good in daily lives, and learning to identify and shift limiting beliefs. So we did just that. We worked hard. So far, we have to say that this book has greatly helped us work on our self-esteem, but it's also been time-consuming and very triggering. Thank you so much for joining us in this first deep dive into accept, value, and empower yourself. We invite y'all to tune back in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the second episode of this mini-series, where we will be discussing Chapter 2, Self-Acceptance. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts. Have you read Accept, Value, and Empower Yourself by David Bonham-Carter? What were your takeaways? Drop a message and let's talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and join us whenever you can. Remember, take it slow, be kind to yourself, and give yourself permission to do stuff you love doing. We can't wait to unmask more of this life journey with y'alls. Thank you so much for fluttering by the pod. Until next time, peace out and take care of yourselves out there.